Hi, I'm Sam and today we're going to be cooking a chocolate and clementine Yule log for Christmas. To start off with, we need to melt our chocolate. I've broken 100 grams of dark chocolate into a bowl and I've got a pan of water which has just been brought to a simmer, and we're turning off the heat to put the chocolate on top. And we're just going to stir it. Right, it's been about 2 minutes and this chocolate is fully melted and it looks perfect for taking off the pan. Just popping aside to cool down for about 5 minutes. Right, so we melted the chocolate and now we're going to separate our eggs into 2 large bowls. I've got 5 eggs and we're going to just gently break each egg in half, and I find using a butter knife a really good way to stop the eggs breaking up. And we're going to gently open them up and pour the whites into one bowl, moving the yolk from one egg half to the other until all the yolk is separated. Perfect, and the yolk goes into the other bowl there. And we're going to repeat until we have 5 yolks in this bowl and 5 egg whites in this bowl. So we've now separated our eggs, and now it's time for a bit of elbow grease, and I've got my nice yellow whisk, and we're going to whisk the egg whites until they reach stiff peaks. You can use a stand mixer or an electric whisk if you like to speed this up. Right, I've been whisking for a couple of minutes now and the eggs have become all fluffy and have finally reached the stiff peaks phase, which means that if you lift your whisk up like that, you'll get a lovely kind of point onto the egg whites, and they're perfect and ready to use. Now it's time to turn our attention to the egg yolks. We've got 100 grams of the sugar, which we're just going to pour in, and our 2 clementines, which we're going to grate the zest over the top. And this will give the sponge a really lovely, fragrant orange flavour. So with the egg yolks, sugar and the clementine zest in the bowl, we want to whisk everything together for about 2 minutes until the egg yolks thicken and turn pale in colour and everything is smooth and well mixed. Okay, with our eggs mixed, now it's time to get 3 tablespoons of double cream into a small bowl, and we're going to juice 1 clementine into the cream. And make sure you squeeze out all of the juice and just give that a really good mix with a spoon. Before we get everything mixed together, we've got 150 grams of plain flour in a bowl, and we're just going to add a teaspoon of baking powder and just give it a good mix with a spoon to make sure it's well combined. So we've got our eggs and sugar and zest mixed together until thick in our bowl here, and we're going to add our double cream and clementine juice mixture and give that a good fold together. Next up, we've got the melted dark chocolate, which has just cooled down a little bit. That just goes straight in, and that will turn the mixture a lovely rich chocolatey colour. Now it's time to add our flour and baking powder mixture, and this all goes into the bowl, and again really gently fold it through together. And at this point the mixture will really start to thicken up. Now it's time to return to the egg whites that we whipped up earlier and add these to our bowl. So first of all, we're going to add about half of the mixture, and we're going to kind of quite rigorously mix this into the chocolate mixture, and this will loosen it up. So now that the mixture is a bit looser in texture, we can add the final amount of egg white from the bowl. And because the chocolate mixture is softer in texture, that will really help us be able to gently fold through the last bit of egg white, and that will make the sponge fluffier in texture. Right, the chocolate in our bowl is now mixed, and it's time to pop it into our prepared tray, which is the biggest one that we have, and I'd advise you do the same. If you don't have a big baking tray, you can use 2 and kind of piece it together at the end, but we'll get to that later on. So all I've done is I've lined this baking tray with a sheet of baking paper, and that will stop it from sticking to the bottom. And we simply pour our mixture right into the middle of the tin. Okay, and once the mixture's in the tin, use your spatula to just smooth everything out. So all I've done is I've spread the mixture as thinly as possible into the bottom of the baking tray. It's probably about 1 centimetre thick, and it's ready to go into the oven for about 10 minutes. Right, so the sponge has been in the oven for about 10 minutes and it's ready to go. I've just let it cool down for a couple of minutes, and now it's ready to take out of the pan. The sponge itself is still nice and warm, but it's important that at this stage you work with it without it being too cool, as this will help keep it together later on. So we're going to just gently slide it out of the pan and onto a board, and as you can see, the sponge is still a little bit uneven, but that's absolutely fine at this point. So we're going to move this so that the narrowest end is facing me, and we're going to just gently start to roll it up while it's in its greaseproof paper, and kind of keep it quite tight if possible. And once it's been rolled up to this point, pop it to one side and allow it to cool fully. Now's a perfect time to make the chocolate ganache, which is going to cover the chocolate log. So I've got 200 milliliters of cream, which is simmering in a pan, and it's ready to pop onto the bowl of chopped up dark chocolate that I've got ready. So just going to take the pan off the heat and pour it straight over the chocolate. And as soon as the cream has gone onto the chocolate, give it a really good stir, which will start to melt the chocolate, and the two will come together into a really thick and smooth chocolate ganache sauce. Okay, the chocolate and cream mixture is lovely and smooth now and ready to pop to one side so it hardens up a little bit. The last thing to prepare is the cream filling for our chocolate log. All we do is we pour the remaining cream, which is about half a litre, into a large bowl and add the remaining sugar, which is about 50 grams. And we whisk that again together until it reaches kind of reasonably firm, stiff peak texture. Right, so our sponge has had time to cool down now, and it's time to roll it back out. So just gently uncoil it, and as you can see, it's cracking slightly, but that's absolutely fine. But at this point, if you do have cracks that go all the way along, and if it's broken into a few pieces, have no fear, because all you want to do at that point is to push the pieces together to create your surface. And likewise, if you've baked your sponge in 2 trays, then at this point just piece them together and that'll be fine. And now it's time to fill this piece of sponge with cream that we whipped up earlier. So take a spoon and just kind of generously dollop it onto the sponge and spread it about evenly, leaving a slight gap at the sides. Okay. Right, so we spread the cream evenly onto the sponge, and it's time to roll this up. Gently bring in the narrowest side using the greaseproof paper to help you, and just try and keep it as tight as possible. And if it gets a bit messy at this point, it really doesn't matter. And there we go. As you can see, the slight crack on top has kept together, and that'll be absolutely fine when we add the ganache on the outside. And we're ready to use the ganache that has thickened up a little bit, but it's just the right texture to spread over the top. And what I'd recommend before you do that is just to pop it onto a clean piece of greaseproof paper, and that'll make it much easier to transfer it onto your serving dish later. So just spoon the chocolate over the top. Don't worry about it falling off the sides at this point, you can tidy that up later. The main aim is to get the whole thing covered with the chocolate. And if you've got any cracks at this point, just spoon a good amount of the chocolate over the top, and hopefully that should hide any gaps. Okay, and that looks good. That's fully covered. If you like and you've got enough ganache left, you can do the ends, or you can leave it so you can see the swirl at the end there. Right, so we've decorated our Yule log, popped it in the fridge for about 20 minutes just so the chocolate firms up on the outside, and we're ready to serve. And as you can see, we've still got a lovely spiral shape, and it's ready to tuck in. Merry Christmas, everyone.